Most emotional moments in the F1 history. At number one, we have Ayrton Senna's death. Perhaps the saddest moment in the history of Formula One was the death of the triple world champion Ayrton Senna. On the lap 7, Senna's car ran in the straight line of the track and stuck into the unprotected concrete barrier. The car hit the wall at a shallow angle, tearing off the right front wheel and nose cone and the sprinting into the halt. Minutes after the accident, servicemen pulled the motionless Senna out of the car. Soon, in official statement, they declared that the legendary Brazilian was no more. Many Brazilian fans considered Senna's death to be a national tragedy. The Brazilian government declared 3 days of national mourning. The funeral was broadcasted live on the Brazilian television, and an estimated 3 million people lined in the streets of his hometown, Sao Paulo. Even the FIFA World Cup winning Brazilian team dedicated their win to Senna. It was widely accepted to be the largest recorded gathering of mourners in the modern time. As an inspiration to many drivers and fans, Senna's death became a turning point in the safety of Formula One. Soon after the tragic accident, FIA implemented new safety measures and the Grand Prix Drivers Association was re-established. Second, Anthony Hubert's death and the event that unfolded. The 2019 Belgian Grand Prix will be forever remembered for not of the best reasons. F1 returned after a long summer break and everyone's mood were good. Charles Leclerc took a pole as his Ferrari showcased his strength and might after win an embarrassing first half of the season. However, what happened after qualifying is that they shook the entire world for good. In the F2 feature race, Anthony Hubert, Jean-Mille Correa, and Julian Alesi crashed heavily and a red flag came out immediately. The crash video soon surfaced online, but the video is only for the brave-hearted to watch. Anthony Hubert was soon declared dead while the other two were lifted for the treatment. While Alesi was discharged soon, Correa is still recovering with heavy injuries to his leg and spine. Hubert was a childhood friend of Leclerc. Leclerc, Gasly, and Ocon almost grew up together, completed on track, though various events in the morning that followed. F1 held a minute of silence as a mark of respect. During the formation lap, Leclerc passed the corner of the accident and seemed numb. His reaction showcased how much it hurt him and how much he was missing his friend. And he was one to win the race eventually. His first victory in the Formula One and dictated the victory to his friend. The fans even gave him the standing ovation on lap 19 as Hubert raced with hashtag number 19. Third, Sebastian Vettel's emotional drivers championship title. Sebastian Vettel headed to the 2010 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix with very much an underdog for the drivers title. Alonso and his teammate Mark Webber led the way with the German 15 points behind the leader. However, both Alonso and Webber were hampered by the traffic mid-race and were unable to find the way through. They looked the checkered flag in the 7th and 8th respectively. Vettel meanwhile put a stunning drive to snatch the championship from their noses. It clearly meant a lot to the German who went on to win 3 more. Fourth, Nigel Mansell's first victory. Nigel Mansell had a slow start to his racing career. Since he was from a middle class family, he used to own money to help his work up all the ranks. He moved to Formula Ford series after considerable success in kart racing. However, his father disapproved of the decision. While in Formula Ford, he broke his neck in a crash. The doctors told him that he was luckily not paralyzed, but he discharged himself from the hospital and returned to racing. Soon, Lotus owner Colin Chapman began to take the notice of his driving skill. During his Grand Prix debut with Lotus in Austria in 1980, a fuel leak into the cockpit gave him the first and second degree burns. But he battled through the pain and stopped only when a mechanical problem was forced into retirement. Mansell struggled during his 4 year tenure as a full time Lotus driver. He had an unreliable car and a teammate, Elio De Angelis, consistently outperformed him, and he moved to Williams in 1985. After 5 years of trying, Nigel finally scored his first win at the European Grand Prix. At the Brands Hatch in 1985, he performed daringly, overtaking maneuvers of Senna and Piquet to win. Nigel Mansell was thus the perfection of drama in a F1 Formula car. Fifth, Ruben Barrichello's first win. At the 2000 Grand Prix, Ruben Barrichello recorded his first win. This win was special because it was his first season for Ferrari. The win was a result of inspiration as well as many tiny pieces of fortune. He started 18th in the Hockenheim and was put in the aggressive top 2 strategy in bid to help him to move up the field. The race swung in his favor when a former Mercedes employee with grudge against the company ran into the circuit in the bid to disturb the Mercedes forward McLaren races. That caused the race stewards to send out the safety car, allowing Barrichello to complete one of his pit stops without losing track position. Barrichello then made Blashley gamble to stay on the track on slick tires despite too late race the rain shower and took an emotional win. 6th, Massa's 39-second title. It would be difficult to imagine more poignant moment at the season-ending Brazilian Grand Prix of 2008. Felipe Massa of Ferrari needed to win the race for what? McLaren's Lewis Hamilton had to finish 6th or worse in order to secure the F1 World Championship. Massa started from pole position and stuck his Ferrari across the start to finish line. First, he won the race from Fernando Alonso, Kimi Räikkönen, and Sebastian Vettel, with Hamilton well back in the pack behind the several non-title contenders. Filippi and the Squadrilla faithfully went crazy, but Hamilton rounded the last corner for the wet Interlagos track. Timo Glock was struggling with degrading dry tires and well off the pace. Hamilton passed for the 5th, and 39.09 seconds later, Philip's championship was no more. Last race, last lap, last corner. On the slowing down lap, Lewis Hamilton lifted his visor and dabbed in his eyes, saying on the radio, "I'm speechless." In Prague for me. Massa lifted his own visor and put a glove hand over his eyes. Then he scrambled out, facing the crowd, tapped his heart, and 3-4 times bowed to the sky. 7th, Michael Schumacher on equaling Senna's record tally. One of the most bizarre and unusual events in Michael's career came at the Monza in 2000, where he equalized Ayrton Senna's tally of 41 wins. In the post-race press conference, journalists asked him about his significance, his record-tying 41st victory against the great Ayrton Senna meant to him. Michael simply bowed his head and broke down into tears. This prompted the rival Mika Häkkinen to put a reassuring around. This prompted rival Mika Häkkinen to put a This prompted rival Mika Häkkinen to put a reassuring arm around his shoulder. Nobody had ever seen Michael like this before, and indeed, we have seen such a public display of emotion from him since. Schumacher won at Imola the same day that Aaron was killed. Since that day, he rarely talked about the Brazilian. Usually, he professed up to no interest in the statistics, but clearly mentions of Senna's name by the interview and already hyped the circumstances pushed Michael through some kind of barrier. 8. Schumacher's goodbye to Ferrari. After 11 years at Ferrari, during which he won a record 5 consecutive World Championship titles, Ferrari issued a press release stating that he would retire from racing at the end of 2006 season. Schumacher confirmed his retirement. In the in the season finale at Brazil, football legend Pele presented a trophy to Schumacher for his years' dedication to Formula One. Michael Schumacher, first and among the finest victory for the Ferrari. He started in the race 10th position and didn't get a great start, which saw him fall into 19th place, 70 seconds behind teammate and race leader Felipe Massa. However, in an eventful race, he recovered and secured the 4th place and bid an emotional farewell to the sport and only returned with Mercedes in 2010 and again to retire in 2012. His performance in the Brazilian GP was classified in the press as heroic and utterly breathtaking drive and a performance that sums up his career. 9th, Felipe Massa's last Brazilian race. At the end of 2016, Felipe Massa announced his retirement and it was an emotional affair for the veteran Brazilian who began his journey as a reserve driver for Sauber and debuted in 2003. The Brazil Grand Prix, the home of his racing career, has always been special for him, and having won it couple of times in 2016 edition was even special since he was bidding adieu to the crowd that has cheered him all along. With a tear in his eyes and Brazilian flag dabbed around his shoulder, he trudged back to the pit lane. However, every team's pit crew cheered for him along with the crowd, applauding the Brazilian for his contribution. His family joined him in the Williams garage and he hugged them amidst all the tears and emotions. It was a very touching moment not only for him but for the entire F1 fraternity. Emotional tribute to Jules Bianchi. 9 months after sustaining a serious head injury during the Japanese Grand Prix in a 2014 Formula One season, Jules Bianchi passed away. He collided with a recovery vehicle in wet conditions on the Suzuka track. Promising young driver suffered of a diffuse axonal injury. The accident left him in a coma and he tragically lost the battle. Bianchi raced for Marussia and was part of the Ferrari Young Driver Academy. Bianchi was the first driver to lose his life during the Grand Prix race weekend since Ayrton Senna in May 1994. The F1 community paid emotional tribute to the 25-year-old. The F1 community paid an emotional tribute to the 25 years old and retiring his car number 17 as a mark of respect to a promising young star. The drivers paid their tribute by forming a huddle around the 20 helmets on the tarmac 15 minutes before the 2015 Hungarian Grand Prix. The sport has rarely been saddened as it was on that day. Rest in peace.